In this video, I'm going to actually answer some of your questions that you guys have left in the comment section of previous videos that I have made. And so if you're interested and want me to answer any of your questions, feel free to leave them down in this video or any other previous videos, and I will continue to make videos like this where I actually answer your guys' questions. So with that being said, if you're interested, make sure to stick around. What is going on, everyone? I hope you're all doing well. If you're new here, my name is Serge. Welcome to the channel. To all my reoccurring viewers, thank you so much for all the love and support that each and every single one of you have shown me. And if you have not yet, make sure to go check out the God Made podcast on most streaming platforms. Also, feel free to go check out legionassistedlivingacademy.com for the program or course that you can sign up for. And also feel free to check out Legion Assisted Living Academy on Facebook and go join that. It's for free. Also, if you want to schedule a one-on-one call with myself, feel free to check out the mentorship link down below and you can schedule a one-on-one call with me. And also feel free to go check out valleyalfventures.com if you are an investor looking to passively invest in this healthcare space, or if you're an operator looking to sell your facility or lease and expand your operations, feel free to go check out valleyalfventures.com and check us out on Instagram at valleyalfventures. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the topic of this video. Now, one of the main questions that I actually got here that I actually am going to read off to you guys here real quick. The question was, which demographic client patient type is the most lucrative? We have been thinking about medically fragile pediatrics. Any thought? Both RNs, nice vids, keep them coming. Now with this question, I specifically want to touch on which demographic specifically is probably the most lucrative and the most to look into. And my honest assessment and honest opinion on my experience of what I've been doing is the behavioral / sober living / DD or development disabilities. These are the most lucrative niches specifically in this healthcare space. Reason being is because their level of care is so much higher and they have so many more needs, and they're typically younger individuals who will have so much more life to live and so many more services that they will actually need in order to thrive. So that is typically the most lucrative demographic. But again, it comes back to preference and what it is you want to do specifically and what clientele you want to service. So that is really up to you to make that call. A lot of people love the senior community because of the fact that they just have so much wisdom. They have grandma, grandpa that they've taken care of before, or mom or dad, that ultimately inspire them to get into the senior living space specifically. So it really comes down to you. There's other people who get into the substance and abuse or development disabilities for other specific personal reasons. So it's truly up to you and what you want to do. So make sure you go down the route that you are going to ultimately be the most passionate about. And so the next question that I actually want to answer is, do hallways require a certain width? I'm looking at building codes for Sacramento, California, and don't seem to find any specific regulations in regards to this. Now, when it comes to actual hallways and the width of them, typically in most residential settings, you do not need to have a specific width requirement. Now, keep in mind, if you're servicing the seniors, you do want to make sure that they are able to get through there with a wheelchair or with any type of, if like paramedics come to the facility, that they can get through there with their, I forget what it's called right now off the top of my head, but they're able to get through the home and get that patient or that resident out of there. So when I started out, and even now with the homes that we renovate, whether they're residential or commercial, typically they're most likely standard hallways. Typically you're looking at 34 to 36 inches on the hallways. That way they can actually get in and out of. But there typically isn't a width requirement in the residential setting. Another question I do want to answer is, my concern is liability and legal issues that may come with this field. How do you mitigate with potential lawsuits or any type of legal or insurance issues? The best way to mitigate this is typically making sure that you document as much, as frequently as possible in your facility. Anything that happens, anything that's done in your facility, you document. Documentation is ultimately going to save you when it comes to any type of lawsuit or any type of legal issues that happen in your facility, meaning any medication that's done, any type of care that's given, any type of activities of daily living that's done, any new prescription that's given to your residents. Everything that happens in that facility needs to be documented. Everything from admissions to discharges to unusual occurrences, repairs that are done to any of the utilities or appliances in your facility. Anything and everything should be documented. You should always have your subcontractors should be insured, bonded, and always make sure that they have liability insurance. You always want to make sure when it comes to that you have everything documented. Another question here is, I'm thinking about having one, but I've heard it is hard to staff the facility. What do you think? How do you handle staffing? What do you do when you can't find enough staff or when your staff calls in sick? Now, this is a more in-depth question that I can get into, but really to answer this is, how do you handle staffing? Well, staffing is something that's kind of built over time. It's really about building culture. It's really about making sure that staff that you do get in, that they're properly trained, that they understand what the vision and the goal is of your business, of what you're trying to do, making sure that if you have a manager or an administrator who is vetting these individuals, that they're properly trained, not just from what your standards are as a facility, but also their skill set as a CNA or a caregiver. This is something that happens and people neglect oftentimes just so they can fill in that role with someone who has less experience, which that is fine. But if that individual decides to want to grow with your business and within your organization, make sure that they have those skills and that they're trained up on those skills. You as a care home owner and you as a facility owner should offer continued education units, or also known as CEUs, to that individual. Make sure that that is a requirement and not an option. So make sure that they're trained, make sure that you offer them opportunities to be able to advance within your organization, and that is how you're going to ultimately be able to retain that staff. And so as you continue to grow your operations, your sole focus as the owner should be to work on the business, not in your business. So just keep that in mind, and it is very important. Another question that I do want to cover, this one is kind of more in depth, but can you do without referrals? Meaning, can you put ads in paper? Can you work with a hospital? I ask because in this person's experience, I think residents stay for years. They do. And then what's an average stay for a patient? So this is something that I've covered in most of my videos. So can you do without referrals? Yes, but that takes time to be able to build that reputation within your community and with case managers and with placement agents. Placement agents, I look at them as an investment, not as an expense. So just keep that in mind. And then what is the average stay for residents? Typically it's 6 months. So how does that work? Well, you will have residents who stay for years. You'll have residents who stay on hospice and unfortunately pass quicker. So you have people who stay for respite stays, meaning they only stay for like rehab. Maybe they broke a hip, maybe they broke an ankle, they did something, but they do plan on going home. So they're more of a respite stay situation. So typically you will have those types of individuals. So just keep that in mind. Another question was here that I can answer. I'm gonna go through these. Would love a video about leasing a property. So leasing a property is pretty straightforward, but you have to understand with your landlord what the expectations are. Will the landlord be doing the conversion? Will you be doing a lease option or having the opportunity to purchase that at a later date, meaning you have the right of refusal to purchase that? So there's a lot that goes into leasing a property, but ultimately, if you're able to even find the landlord who is willing to lease to you, make sure you understand what you're responsible for and what the landlord's responsible for. Make sure that, at the end of the day, it's a good deal for everybody all the way around. There's going to be responsibilities of you as a tenant, especially if you're running this type of business, that you cover yourself in your business and that the landlord is also covered. So just keep that in mind when it comes from a liability standpoint, and work with the landlord. Make sure that the landlord understands exactly what it is you're gonna do. But typically when leasing, there's a video that I've made in the past about leasing this, but I can cover this again if you guys want me to. Ask questions in the comment section. But hopefully these answers gave you guys some more insight and hopefully helped you all. And if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure again to check out Legion Assisted Living Academy, where I go into a lot more depth about these topics and what to do. But I just wanted to make a video to hopefully answer some of your guys' questions. I know I don't get around to commenting to all the comments, but I think this is just a great way for me to be able to answer your guys' questions. And with that being said, I will talk to you all in the next one.